Coming up on In Your Neighborhood, we'll hear about the master plan that led to the renovation of a popular park in downtown Lewisburg. Plus, we'll tell you why they made beaver dams at Susquehanna University, and we'll find out if they're working.
Experience reliable whole home Wi-Fi from SECV. Our trained technicians set up your network for peak performance. Stream HD videos to multiple devices. Walk room to room on a video call and more with whole home Wi-Fi powered by Plume. Parental controls help keep kids safe. Maintain privacy with a guest network for visitors and manage all your features with the amazing Home Pass app. Give us a call or visit secv.com to learn more. We're here for you.
Welcome to In Your Neighborhood. I'm your host, Chris O'Rourke, and I'm enjoying a beautiful, breezy afternoon in these really comfortable chairs. Behind me is Lewisburg's Hufnagel Park, which really is the cornerstone of the borough's multi-year Bull Run Master Plan.
I have my white hat, so I'm just riding with this wet one. I did fill the car up with gas and down the waters.
Dozens of antique, vintage, and collector cars rolled down Market Street in Lewisburg in late June, taking a right turn onto South 6th Street to finish this leg of the Hemmings Motor News Great Race. The annual race ran from Owensburg, Kentucky to Gardner, Maine. Lewisburg was the lunch stop on June 26th, and there were plenty of people in town to see the racers and cars arrive. They were then able to get a view of the cars while they were parked on South 6th Street and in nearby Hufnagel Park. There were food trucks in the park for the racers and the crowds that came to see them. If Lewisburg could have envisioned an event to best showcase the newly revamped Hufnagel Park, this would be it. There were tents in the park, people hanging out at the new stage, kids playing cornhole on the wide open field, and very kind words from the race's organizers. They told us choosing Lewisburg was easy. They look for towns the size of Lewisburg that have interesting or historic downtowns. Race director Jeff Stum had been to Lewisburg about 20 years earlier on a motorcycle tour and thought then it would be a perfect town for a stop on the race if they were ever in the area. They then talked with the Susquehanna River Valley Visitors Bureau and got a sense right away that it would work great. Stum told us that Lewisburg really has it going on.
You should be very proud of this community. I got a good look. I have a special superpower being able to soak it up really quickly as I go through 14 years of this. Hundreds of small towns in the United States of America, thousands of people, and I don't care what the mainstream media or what your head tells you, our country's doing just fine. I've talked to all of them. You bring these old cars to town, we're doing great. Love the history, love the attitude. You set a wonderful table here.
The borough had its ribbon cutting for the park back in April, and while it's hosted a theater production and a concert since then, nothing quite showcased its potential as an event venue, quite like the Great Race. The cars eventually headed off to their next stop to end the day in Binghamton, New York, leaving behind the park and community that had offered it a place of rest and refuge for a short period of time. While it's a little quieter now, the park has plenty to offer for the casual stop by a family or just someone who wants a little peace and quiet, surrounded by nature, and oh yeah, free Wi-Fi access. Hufnagel was closed in May of last year for the work to revamp it as part of the Bull Run Master Plan that was enacted by Lewisburg's Borough Council back in 2017. Multiple phases have been tackled before this one, and some still continue, but this was truly the crown jewel of the plan, given its proximity to Market Street. I swear the view from that street just calls you to stop and take rest. Throw in a summer night when there's a concert sponsored by the Downtown Partnership, maybe a meal at a nearby restaurant, and you have the recipe for an entertaining evening. The interesting thing is that the master plan got its start as a way to address a thorn in the side of the borough for some time.
There were two other issues we were addressing. One was flood resiliency in Lewisburg Borough. Limestone Run floods a lot during heavy rain events, and it floods very quickly. Every project the borough's been doing over the past 10 years has been to build flood holding capacity of Limestone Run. So part of the project was to remove some of the historic fill that was placed within the park area after the Agnes flood of '72 and create areas where the water could spread into safely to keep the water out of people's homes, to keep it off the streets. We were also looking to improve the accessibility in the park by eliminating all the stairs and all the ramps and making it a nice even slope so that regardless of what your mobility was, you would be able to use and enjoy Hufnagel Park.
Flood mitigation along Limestone Run was the first of the completed phases. Louthert says they were small, almost demonstration projects, although you'd have a hard time convincing any fishermen of that idea. Thanks to the work of the master plan, Limestone Run was stocked for the first day of trout season, which brought a sight that hasn't been seen in quite some time in Lewisburg. Young fishermen lining the creek, and you'll still find people casting lines here, although all we saw on this day was ducks. One of the other phases was part of the ongoing work on the Buffalo Valley Rail Trail. Up until the master plan, the trail ran from Mifflinburg to Route 15 in Lewisburg and then stopped. The current project takes the trail from North 8th Street to the Bucknell University campus. Add the current effort to get the bikes across Route 15, and you may soon be able to enjoy a 12-mile or so ride from Mifflinburg onto Bucknell's campus, where there is another mile loop. Another phase of the plan involved the reworking of the Kidsburg Playground on the south side of St. Louis Street. Playworld donated a large part of what you see here in honor of emergency responders who battled a fire at the company's facility along Buffalo Road a few years ago. While the flood work took place around 2018, Kidsburg was in the 2019-2020 timeline.
And we've seen for each stage, everybody is really embracing what is now there. Every time I'm standing in Kidsburg, I'm hearing the parents, whether they're from town or outside of our area, really like complimenting how amazing it is and how much their kids are enjoying it and the quality of the materials in the park and the nature play area and everything else. So each stage has been a labor of love, and it's being embraced and utilized quite heavily by the community, and we're hoping that this most recent stage will also have that same kind of response as we move in through the summer season.
And we're really following along that original vision in the master plan. Not everything's exact, but in general, the big picture items, the things the public wanted us to build in their park, we've been doing.
The unique thing about the playground, and something I've never seen before, is the DCNR-funded Nature Play Area. It sits just south of the playground equipment, and you won't find anything metal here unless it's a spoon lying in the creek. No, you'll only find logs, stones, and other natural playthings. There's also the very unique access point to Limestone Run, where you'll find stones placed to enable you to hop across, and a makeshift dam that leads to a little pooling of water. That's something we found several kids taking full advantage of, possibly to the dismay of their parents, on the day that the great race was here. Talk about turning a negative into a positive. Kids frolicking in a creek that has been a source of so much heartache and devastation in the past.
Flood resiliency has been a big focus of this borough council as well as borough staff. We undertook a flood resiliency study recently that provided us with recommendations on how to better make Lewisburg Borough survive floods and recover from them afterwards. We have not only Susquehanna River here, Limestone Run, we also have Miller Run and Buffalo Creek that all flood the borough. So we are very much in an area that will be inundated by floods in the future, and we're trying to make sure Lewisburg's in the best position to be able to recover after those events.
And in addition to taking out soil to be able to create that space for potential floods, we've also put in a tremendous amount of plants, trees, bushes, species of all sorts, so as to not only create resiliency within our local ecosystem, but also to help with the air. We are a tree city, and we take that seriously, and we try to maintain our tree canopy as best as possible. But it also is important that our public spaces, our parks, also embrace that same sort of mentality, and we've put in hundreds and hundreds of trees all throughout all of the park spaces.
And there's another park space that we haven't even mentioned yet, and that's the Piers Art Park. Follow the Buffalo Valley Rail Trail back across Market Street and down along the railroad tracks, and you'll come to Cherry Alley, and a park that was under construction at that time. It is known right now more for its proximity to a small covered bridge, but is becoming known for a piece of art that uses the piers for a bit of an optical illusion. Stand off to the side, and it appears to be a disjointed series of works. But stand in the right spot, as indicated on one of the piers, and you're suddenly looking at a scene of the Susquehanna River, nearby mountains, and lush greenery. Lauthert says the Piers Art Park is meant to be smaller for more intimate performances.
And all of these, at different levels for different segments of the community, create community space, right? This is very much a place-making endeavor while simultaneously having these very practical implementation of flood mitigation and event venue and everything else. There's always the concept of like, how is the community going to be utilizing this?
Lauthert and Haynes say there have already been a number of events in Hufnagel, with some even held before the grass was fully grown. That included a tree lighting during the holidays that was attended by hundreds. And while there are comfortable Adirondack chairs situated around the stage, and there's seating for performances, there's another spot that both men pointed out as a popular hang spot. Yep, this wall that sits on the west side of the creek. It's close for a better view, sits a little lower, is a location to listen to a concert, and is in a very peaceful, pretty spot. Once the borough wraps up the current phases, including Piers Art Park and some flood mitigation work south of Kidsburg, it may be time for a breather. They have accomplished much, with most of it within eyesight of the borough's offices on the other side of the railroad tracks from the bike trail and Hufnagel Park. In all, somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million has been spent so far, with much of it coming in the form of federal and state dollars. Lewisburg pitched in for engineering and permitting. The result has been a setting that performers say provides them with excellent acoustics for their audiences, a playground that gets rave reviews, and a nature area that lets kids get into a stream to possibly catch a crayfish. And who wouldn't like that?
It's always nice to see plans come to reality. The nice thing about what we've done here is when I move on and I'm no longer borough manager, I can bring my grandkids here and I can show them, hey, your grandfather helped create what you see here.
I think Bill and I are both very much people that appreciate to be able to do the good study to understand what's going on in our community, but we're also very much people who are practical people to get things done. And you know, it's been a lot of work. It's undeniably a lot of work, a lot of partners, a lot of people making this happen. But yeah, I mean, my young children think that I own the park because I tell them like I'm part of this, And they were like, how are you part of this? I was like, well, I'm the president and we make this happen. And he's like, so you own this? I'm like, I don't own it, but it is nice to see your kids like look up to you about like they see the change and they appreciate it and they get to run around and enjoy it.
From one chair to another, I'm now underneath the event venue here in Huffnagle Park, which from what I understand has been very busy since its opening. Ironically, the Bull Run Master Plan was supposed to take about 20 years. The borough accomplished all of this in 7. Once it's done with the additional 2 phases, it may move on to other projects, possibly involving Wolf Field in the north end of town.